Look at me for a moment and listen. Have you ever prayed, planned, worked hard, yet it feels like heaven went silent? You did everything you knew to do. You served, you gave, you believed, and still the answer hasn't come. Let me tell you something right from the start. Delay is not denial. When God asks you to wait, He is never wasting time. He is using time. In this session, I want to show you why waiting is not an accident. By the end, you may realize the season you've been trying to escape is the very ground where your destiny is growing. So take a breath, stay with me, because what you call a delay, God calls preparation. Number one, waiting builds character. Think about Joseph in Genesis. God gave him a dream when he was just a teenager, ruling nations, saving lives. But before he ever touched a throne, he spent years as a slave and then as a prisoner. From the outside, it looked like God had forgotten him. But in the dark of that Egyptian prison, Joseph was learning humility, leadership, and forgiveness. Maybe you're in a job that feels beneath your talent. Maybe your business idea is ready, but the resources aren't. Listen, God is more interested in who you are becoming than what you are receiving. The delay is shaping your heart so the blessing won't crush you when it arrives. Number two, waiting aligns timing. Abraham and Sarah were promised a child, yet decades passed before Isaac was born. Why wait so long? Because God's promise was tied to a bigger calendar. Nations had to be positioned. History had to align. You may feel ready, but God sees every moving piece. He knows the conversation that needs to happen next year, the person you haven't met yet, the market that isn't ready today. What feels like slowness is actually strategy. The creator of time is never late. Number three, waiting protects you. David was anointed king as a teenager, but he didn't sit on the throne until years later. He spent that time running from Saul, living in caves, learning to trust God in danger. If David had forced his way to the throne early, he would have faced enemies and responsibilities he wasn't prepared to handle. Think of the job you wanted but didn't get, the relationship that didn't work out. Sometimes unanswered prayer is loving protection. God closes a door because He sees what's behind it and you don't. Number four, waiting strengthens your faith. Listen closely. Real faith isn't proven when everything goes right. It's proven when nothing seems to move and you still believe. Think of Israel in the wilderness. Every single morning they woke up to manna, food that spoiled if they tried to store it. God was teaching them a daily rhythm of trust. They couldn't save it. They couldn't plan ahead. They had to wake up and believe again today. Maybe you feel that way. Your finances arrive just in time. Your strength feels barely enough for one more sunrise. That isn't punishment. It's spiritual training. Faith is like a muscle. If you never put weight on it, it stays weak. But the moment you keep lifting, it tears and grows stronger. Abraham kept believing for a son even when his body was as good as dead. Hannah kept praying for Samuel while others mocked her. Every day they chose to trust. Faith under pressure. Faith that cannot be shaken. If you are waiting right now, heaven is giving you an invitation. Will you trust me even here? Every not yet from God is a chance for your faith to gain strength you will need for the future. Number five, waiting exposes what's in your heart. Waiting doesn't just reveal God's power, it reveals your motives. Look at the Israelites again. 40 years in the wilderness showed what was inside them: fear, complaining, idolatry. Deuteronomy 8 says God led them that way to humble you and test you, to know what was in your heart. Waiting presses the hidden things to the surface. Maybe you started a business to serve people, but now you're tempted to chase money alone. Maybe you began a relationship for companionship, but now impatience is pushing you toward compromise. In the quiet season, God asks, do you love the gift or the giver? If nothing changes, will you still worship me? That is not cruelty, that is mercy, because when the blessing finally comes, you'll hold it with clean hands. Number six, waiting builds endurance for the long journey. Think of a marathon runner. They don't prepare by sprinting once or twice. They lace up day after day, adding miles until their lungs and heart can handle the full race. Endurance isn't built in comfort, it's forged in repetition. James 1 says, let perseverance finish its work so that you may be mature and complete, lacking nothing. God cares about the strength of your character more than the speed of your arrival. Look at Moses, 40 years in Pharaoh's palace, then 40 years in the desert. Only after 80 years did God send him back to Egypt to lead Israel out. If God had called him earlier, Moses might have relied on his Egyptian training and not God's power. Your calling might be huge: parenting a child with special needs, starting a business that changes lives, planting a church, writing a book that will outlive you. A great calling requires a strong heart. That strength is being built right now in the waiting. Every day you choose to get up, pray, work, and believe. You add another mile to your spiritual endurance. When the moment comes, you won't just start the race, you'll finish it. Number 7, waiting positions the right people. Look at Ruth. She left her homeland and quietly gleaned grain in Boaz's field. No fanfare, no quick romance. But while she worked faithfully, God was weaving a divine appointment. Boaz noticed her diligence, and from that meeting came a marriage that placed Ruth in the lineage of Jesus. Maybe you're praying for a business partner, a mentor, a spouse, or a key relationship for your ministry. They may not be ready yet. Your future teammate might still be learning hard lessons. Your future spouse might be healing from wounds you can't see. Your future investor might still be discovering their own purpose. If you rush ahead, you can end up tied to the wrong people. Waiting allows heaven to arrange the right connections at the right time. Think of Joseph again. If he had been released from prison a year earlier, Pharaoh's dream would not yet have troubled him, and Joseph might have lived in obscurity. The delay was the setup. So stay faithful where you are. Work the field you've been given. God's network is larger than your contacts list. Number 8, waiting demonstrates God's power, not yours. Remember the story of Lazarus. Jesus delayed 2 full days after hearing his friend was sick. When he finally arrived, Lazarus had been dead 4 days. A healing would have impressed the crowd. A resurrection left no doubt that God alone held authority over life and death. Sometimes the situation in your life looks worse, precisely, so God's glory will shine brighter. Maybe you've applied for job after job and keep hearing no. Maybe the diagnosis hasn't changed despite every treatment. Maybe the door you need keeps staying shut. If the answer came quickly, people might say it was your resume, your money, your connections. God lets the odds stack against you so that when breakthrough comes, everyone, including you, has to say, only the Lord could have done this. Think of Gideon. God reduced his army from 32,000 to 300 before the battle. Why? So Israel could never claim victory by their own strength. Your delay may feel like subtraction, but it is preparation for a victory that will unmistakably carry God's signature. Number 9, waiting creates a testimony for others. Your waiting is a living sermon. 2 Corinthians 1 tells us that God comforts us so we can comfort others. The pain you survive becomes the encouragement someone else desperately needs. Consider Job. After loss and suffering, he could declare, I know that my Redeemer lives. His story still strengthens millions. Think of Paul. Shipwrecks, beatings, prison walls, yet he wrote letters from confinement that continue to transform lives 2,000 years later. Someone around you is watching, a child, a neighbor, a co-worker. They notice how you handle disappointment, how you pray when answers are slow, how you keep showing kindness. Your quiet perseverance may be the reason someone else finds faith. Never underestimate the power of a patient witness. Your endurance is preaching even when you say nothing. And last but not least, number 10, waiting sets the stage for a greater reward. Hear this with your whole heart. God never wastes a wait. Hebrews 6:15 says, after Abraham had patiently endured, he obtained the promise. The promise didn't shrink during the delay, it grew. Joseph didn't just save his family, he saved nations. Hannah didn't just give birth to a son, she gave Israel the prophet Samuel, who would anoint kings. Mary didn't just carry a child, she carried the Savior of the world. Maybe you think the clock has run out. Maybe you wonder if you missed your chance, but heaven's calendar is different. You are not behind, you are perfectly timed. When the door finally opens, it will be so precise that you'll say, every tear was worth it. Every lonely night had purpose. Every delay was divine. So I declare to you, hold steady, stay faithful, keep your hope alive. The God who began a good work in you will finish it. The wait is not punishment, it is preparation. And when the moment comes, the blessing will be bigger, the testimony stronger, and the glory all God's.